Okay, so here's another question that one of the IB students asked me. The question is, what's a day of the life of a mathematician like with reference to you? So let me answer from the perspective of pure mathematics. So my career includes both pure mathematics and used to be only pure mathematics, but it also includes today applied mathematics and mathematical modeling for robotics. And but even in robotics, I do actually pure mathematics, but it's kind of inspired by robotics. So that's very interesting. But let me answer this question from the perspective of the pure mathematics, or like the most mathematical type of work that I do. So there are three types of, I think, yeah, three main types of stages or phases in the life of a mathematician, or at least in my life as a mathematician. One phase is when you are completely immersed into thinking. You can't stop thinking. The problem. So that's the phase when you have already formalized well enough the questions that you want to answer, and you can't just get them out of your head. So what happens is that these questions, you're trying to solve them, and because it requires hyper concentration, the way I experience it is that I don't want to put it aside. I don't want to stop the thinking, because I'm afraid that I'm going to lose all the details, because I have constructed this enormous castle in my head of different assumptions and things I'm going to use. And I know I've tried already 11 different approaches, and they didn't work for 25 different reasons, and but I'm keeping them still in mind, because maybe one of them is still going to be useful depending on how I'm going to continue solving the problem. And so I have this kind of a puzzle of different approaches, and I'm usually also thinking at the same time how to make it explainable, so like how to explain it well. So not only am I thinking about how am I going to solve it, at the same time I'm thinking how is it going to look like when I'm finally expressing it in a lecture or in a paper. That's actually shouldn't be part of the thinking for a long time, but it kind of bothers me if my solution is too complex. But I guess it's good, because sometimes if the solution is too complex, then it's probably wrong. Maybe I don't understand it myself. So kind of thinking about how to present things in an elegant way, but at the same time balance between like what is correct and what is not correct, and which kind of approaches, etc. So it's a huge load in the brain, which is very difficult to stop. So even if I go for a bike ride, I might just have to stop and think about the problem that is in my head. So that phase can last from several days to weeks, even months. I think I've heard one professor describing that when he was younger, he could have like 1.5 years, so like a 4 year, like I don't know. That's extreme. But yeah, those guys are really on the top today. So maybe when they were younger, they actually, like they say, smashed the head against the wall for years. Okay, so that's one phase. That's like one type of work. And when I'm in that phase, it's like I wake up, I think maybe. Since I'm engaged in other project, maybe I'll spend some time on something else, something necessary that I have to do, or participate in a seminar. But then I go back to just thinking about the problem, and until I collapse in the evening into my bed. Obviously, I try to also spend some time with my family, but it really is so that when I'm in that phase, then I'm more immersed in work than otherwise. Then there is the other phase, which is also very important. That's when you brainstorm with your colleagues, when you discuss the mathematical questions with your collaborators. You share ideas. Either you share what you came up with in your intense phase, and then you share and you brainstorm and you come up with some fresh perspectives and ideas, and you solve some obstacles, and then you go back to your own thinking. Or it can be in the beginning of a project when nobody has yet done any work, but there's like some ideas, some intuitive kind of directions to which to go. Then people they stand, we stand in front of the blackboard and we try to map out the territory of what are we going to do next. And then the third phase is when the project has basically been completed in terms of mathematics. So we have already figured out all the mathematical proofs to a large extent. Then comes the very long, usually quite annoying phase where you have to write it all down and check all the details, and that can take a long time. So one project that I'm involved in right now, since it has not been full-time project for either one of the collaborators, that two collaborators, me and one other person, we collaborate on this project for 1.5 years. And I can tell you that the mathematical ideas were pretty much set a year ago. And so for last year, we've been resolving all the details, and sometimes there are surprisingly difficult parts in that detailed workout. So even though I've been certain for a year that this theorem that we're going to prove is going to work, still there's been a lot of small detail that we have to work out, and definitions and clarifications, and then we realize, something can be proved in an easier way, so we remove part of the paper and we write a new part of the paper. And as I said, we're not working on it full time, so basically we kind of come back to it once a week or once a month or so it takes like a long time to get it done. And I hope soon we're going to submit it to a journal. So this is my answer to this question. I mean, obviously the work of mathematician also includes traveling to conferences, which is a very amazing, very inspiring part of the work. So that's when you go to some a location where it's organized. It can be a big city like London, Paris, New York, or it can be a remote location where they organize mathematics conferences in some kind of institute which has been built on purpose in the middle of nature. For example, in Sweden, the Mittag-Leffler Institute, or in Poland, in Poznan, this Bedlevo Institute, which where mathematicians come and they kind of are isolated there for a week together. Everything is supplied, food, accommodation, and just like for hours per day everyone is listening to each other's lectures, and then there are times for brainstorming and working together, and also just fun activities like touristic attractions of the local places. And then we come back inspired with new ideas and new projects, and that's really indispensable part of work of mathematicians, but of any other scientists as well. For me, because I'm working, as I said, not only in pure mathematics but also in applied mathematics, or mathematics which is inspired by other areas like robotics. I work with roboticists, and I work with philosophers, and I work with cognitive scientists, and so that's really another dimension for the whole experience. So now I and that's really what my passion is to try to understand what these other mathematicians do, other scientists do, and try to capture it with mathematical language, try to capture it with mathematical kind of approaches. And that's sometimes really really challenging, because it's not the type of work that I was trained when I was trained to become a mathematician, because it's neither one of those phases. It's not the intense working, because the intense working can only start when you already have the mathematical notions in place and the definitions in place and the questions are set. So then you can start the intense thinking period. It's not the working out the details period, because that comes even later. And it's not the mathematician to mathematician brainstorming. It's the brainstorming between non-mathematicians and me, where I have to listen intently and like try to really understand what is the essence of the other science, of robotics or cognitive science, or and capture it with some either existing or new mathematical notions. And yeah, I hope I'm going to become better at that. That's really my dream. Okay, so I hope I answered this question in a way that is acceptable.